Good morning. I'm Alexander Teston with the Teston TV network, the network where we're testing the boundaries of television. We have a great topic for you this morning. Students, is your First Amendment freedom of speech, religion, and right to peacefully protest being infringed upon, or do you feel it's protected? The year was 1965, the height of the Vietnam War. The United States was divided in its views on the battle overseas. Many were against the notion of sending more troops to Indochina. Others felt it was the right move. But a group of students who felt very strongly about the war made it a point to show their opinion by wearing black armbands with a peace sign. The students involved were his sister and brother, Mary and John Tinker, and their best friend, Christopher Eckhart, and both of the students' parents. Here are a couple pictures of the students. The students wore those black armbands that you saw in those photos on December 16th. The schools had heard the news of potential protest and made a rule on the 14th of December saying that no student shall be permitted to display these armbands whilst on school grounds. Those who do not comply with this will be subject to suspension. But the students disregarded the warning from the school in hopes that, since they were doing it out of peace and sincerity, the schools would not act on the threats. The trio could not have been more wrong. The school suspended all three students, even though that there was little to none when it came to the disruption of classes. We did an interview with a citizen, Isaac Messner, to help get some opinion on the question of, would you be distracted if someone was wearing a black armband with a peace sign on it? Here are our results. I'm here with Isaac Messner, a citizen of Puyallup, Washington, student at Walker High School, and I'm here to ask him a couple questions. Isaac, would it distract you if a student were to wear a black armband with a peace sign on it in school?
I would see no reason for it to disrupt my learning. It doesn't do anything to me.
Okay, now my next question is, do you think your right as a citizen of the United States, freedom of speech, is protected while you were at school?
It's not protected while at your school. Well, it's at your school because you're under federal law there, and they have a written set of rules. You lose your rights when you walk into a school. The thing is they just don't make you aware of it.
Are you aware of the case of Tinker versus DesMoines of 1969?
I'm not.
It was a First Amendment case where three students, Christopher Eckhart, John Tinker, and his sister, Mary Beth Tinker, they were suspended from school for wearing black armbands during the Vietnam War, and it had a peace sign on it. Now, the students argued that this was First Amendment free speech and that this was protected. The school district argued otherwise because it was disrupting the learning. They took it all the way to the Supreme Court, and it found out in a 7-2 decision that the Supreme Court favored Tinker because their quote from the Supreme Court justice was, "They do not shed their rights at the schoolhouse gates." How do you feel about that?
I'm not exactly sure because being a senior, I don't know if there's much that's really going to change for me. But personally, I do think that is an issue. You should not have to shed your rights to walk into a school. You should be able to exercise your rights as a full citizen.
Now, playing devil's advocate off of that, where do you draw the line as opposed to, say, disruptiveness compared to constitutional amendments?
Well, that's when you really just need somebody to look at the classroom and say, are they truly disrupting an environment? Are students reporting them? Is the staff encouraging the students to report something like that? Is the staff even paying attention to something like that? I think that's where is a place where you really have to look deeper at the cause of it. I don't know if it purely has to do with rights.
Okay. My next question is, if you were in a situation where the school administration was going against your rights as a citizen of the United States, would you take action to that and fight for your rights as an American citizen?
Fully.
We'd like to thank you for your time and the option to interview you.
Of course.
Thank you, sir. As you may have concluded, Isaac Messner also felt that his rights were diminished at school and that the school does not do anything to help him further his constitutional amendments. Also, like the group of peaceful protesters, this impeded their First Amendment right to free speech and freedom of press. Having been punished for something that was protected under the Constitution, the students, Mary Beth Tinker and John Tinker, Chris Eckhart, and parents filed suit against the DesMoines, Iowa School District. And after getting beat again and again and again, it finally was brought to the attention of the Supreme Court. And at this time, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with more coverage on the story. We hope you enjoyed that brief break. When we left off, we touched on the Supreme Court's involvement with Tinker versus DesMoines. Justice Abe Fortas gave the verdict of 7-2 by the 9 Supreme Court judges, stating that students do not shed their rights at the school gates, finding in favor of Miss Tinker and her brother. If you'd like to listen to the full case, you can visit a website called www.oyez.org. Again, the website is called www.oyez.org. And the full Supreme Court case will be on audio for you to hear. Now, the message that can be interpreted by this case is that when students are at school, their speech is protected if they are on the topic of something political and not disrupting the class. Now, students, how can you apply this to your everyday life? Here are a few tips and pointers when discussing free speech. First, if it is related to something political, then your speech is protected. For example, I'm sure there are many of you who have your own political beliefs, and it is okay for you to show them on school grounds. In fact, it is because of Tinker versus DesMoines case that you are allowed to wear shirts, hats, and maybe even buttons supporting a political belief or ideal, because you are just exercising your right to have an opinion. Second, be wary. The one way that schools can and have gotten around this was the fact that they decide what is technically disruptive. So, while you still have the freedom of speech, you don't have the power to be the one who deems what is disruptive. Finally, be respectful and peaceful.